What's going on, everybody? TJ here from TJ's Take to break down the main slate for the MLB tonight. It is April 11th. A couple things to talk about. NBA regular season is finally over. What a bummer those last few days were. I mean, it always is in the NBA because nobody really cares. We don't know who's playing. Guys are coming in off the street. Terrible time, but we have the playoffs coming back, a lot of single games in the playoffs with a lot of big payouts. So make sure you pay attention to the single game breakdown videos and or articles. If you're not on NBA yet, it's only $30 the rest of the year. I mean, that's all through the playoffs. It might not sound like much, but that's a lot of single games, and single games is where we win the money. Speaking of that, we'll talk about last single game. Hope you guys listened to the video. We did take down the 4,000. Got first. It's a good night. Thank goodness Mo Harkless hit that 3. Other than that, a lot of guys had some question about MLB strategy. If you are an MLB Premium member, one of my very first articles, I think it's the very first one, you can go to that, and that has more strategy on it, kind of how I play, all that fun stuff. But if you don't really know much, I had a lot of questions about stacking. Stacking is just picking players from the same team. So you don't have to stack them in order either. You don't have to have batters 1 through 4. You can go out and get 2, 4, 5, and 7 if you want to. You just want to have exposure to that team because we think that team is going to score a lot of runs. And when you have players from the same team, say 2 batter comes up, gets on base, 3 batter strikes out, 4 batter comes up, gets on base, 5 batter comes up, hits a home run. So you have the 2, 4, and 5 batter, you get multiple points. You're not just getting the home run, you're getting the points for the guys on base as well. So that's what we talk about when we mention stacking, and it's pretty essential to winning in MLB DFS because, I mean, you can try and pick all the home run guys if you want from all different teams, but when you're picking more teams, you're spreading your risk out way too much, as opposed to when if you're playing 2 teams or 3 teams, you're picking 2 or 3 teams that could score a lot of runs. You're narrowing your risk, just hoping that team and their matchup does well. That's how I base my picks. So if there's a solid matchup, I want to load up on that team, not pick a player, 2 players, and then pick a player from everywhere else I think is going to hit a home run. Because most nights in the MLB, someone gets shut out. So lower your risk and higher your chances, and you're picking teams instead of, I mean, there's only a handful of teams as opposed to hundreds and hundreds of players. So that's why we stack. And then any other questions, I mean, feel free to put it on the website. The chat's in the middle of getting built right now, but you can leave comments on any article if you're wondering what we're talking about. Need to stop saying too. I was pretty good at not saying for a while. Then I left college. All right. First game of the night. Toronto Blue Jays at Boston Red Sox. Over under of 9.5. Toronto's projected 4.2 runs. Boston's projected 5.1. No real wind. It's supposed to be about 51 degrees in Fenway. Starters. We'll always start with the pitchers first and then go through the bats. Aaron Sanchez for the Blue Jays takes the mound against Nathan Eovaldi against the Red Sox. Let's look at their numbers. Eovaldi, 22.4% strikeout rate, 4% walk rate. Again, this is a small sample size. Keeps the ball on the ground, 45.9% rate. Hard contact isn't the greatest, but it's not too bad, 32.9%. And looks like he could have a pretty good matchup against these Toronto hitters. Just worried about the lefties a little bit. But we gotta wait and see what kind of lineup they throw at us here. So he does walk quite a few more lefties than he does right-handed bats. but he strikes out a lot more right-handed bats than he does left-handed bats. So we do have to worry about the lefties here. I don't know if I'm going to pitch Eovaldi tonight. I mean, I think he's a good tournament option. I just don't think he's the greatest pitcher. I mean, I think the Red Sox had some high hopes for him. Let me check some other things, see if we can find anything else out. It's going to be a lower owned pitcher today. Yeah, I mean, Toronto's not bad against righties. They do strike out a lot, but they're not bad against righties. Eovaldi doesn't have bad numbers against Toronto. His last start wasn't the greatest, but overall his stats aren't too bad. But I don't think I'm going here. His last start or two was just bad. Let's see. Yep, both of them this season just been bad. Don't think I'm going to pitch him today. I do have a little interest in Rowdy Tellez as maybe a one-off on the Toronto side. But I think that's about it in this lineup. Yeah, not that interesting a matchup on that side. Let's check the other side with the Boston bats. Aaron Sanchez taking the mound for the Blue Jays. And not going to be pitching him either. So no pitchers in this one. Boston only strikes out 18% of the time versus righties. 3.23 WOBA and .63 ISO. Definitely not pitching Aaron Sanchez here, but I am interested in some Boston bats. All of them. I think all of them are in play pretty much. This guy doesn't strike out many people. 18% rate on here. Let's see. Alright, that's weird. So he has an 18.1% strikeout rate, Aaron Sanchez does. And Boston has an 18.8 strikeout rate versus righties. So everything points to the Red Sox here. Aaron Sanchez does give up a lot of ground balls, and there are a decent amount of high ground ball rates in this Boston lineup, but nothing that's going to send me away from them. Hard contact's kind of up there. Let's see if we should be targeting righties or lefties. Definitely going to target the left-handed bats here. Aaron Sanchez is pretty decent against righties. 22% strikeout rate against righties and only a 27% fly ball rate as opposed to a 38% to lefties. So I think you go Benintendi, Moreland, Devers, and Jackie Bradley Jr. This could be a pretty good spot for Jackie Bradley Jr. with the steal upside as well. Him and Benintendi. So you could go 8-1-3 stack. I like it. Or you could go 8-1-2-3. I don't mind playing Mookie Betts in there as well. I like that with a little wraparound and put Jackie Bradley in there. You could also go, if you want Devers in there, you could go 6-8-1, 6-8-1-2. Like all those. Anyway, that's pretty much it from this game. I do like the Boston bats. I'm not sure if they're going to be popular yet or not. I don't think so with some of the other pitchers we have on this slate. With good matchups as well on the bat side, but we'll see. Next game, we have the New York Mets visiting the Atlanta Braves. This wants to load. 79 degrees, 0% chance of rain. Atlanta's projected 4.7 runs. New York Mets, 4.4 runs. It's projected to be a pretty close one. Wind is blowing, looks like slightly out to left, pretty much near to the foul pole on the left side at 11 miles per hour. And on the pitcher side, Steven Matz on the mound for the Mets. 23% strikeout rate. Throws a lot of ground balls at 50%, which is pretty good. But gives up a decent amount of hard contact. It is worth noting These Braves have a lot of lefties, so let's check him. Matz is excellent against lefties. He weirdly strikes out more righties, but all of his numbers other than that to lefties, 72.6% ground ball rate. And I know we don't have a huge sample size right now, but that is insane. And the other side has a lot of... Nope, that's the wrong stat. They do have a lot of high strikeout hitters, but they do have a lot of hard hit hitters. So this could be an interesting hedge spot. I expect Matz to be low owned. I mean, the Braves are a really good team. So I think you could pitch Matz in tournaments and then maybe hedge it and play the Braves bats, because I think, like I said in the last matchup, I think there's some other spots where a lot of people are going tonight. So I think the Braves are a good stack, and I like Matz as a pitcher in tournaments. I mean, pay attention to my articles. I'll have a lot more research in. I forgot to mention this too. This is your first podcast you're watching. I pretty much do the research with you guys right here. I've done a little before this, not too much, and then afterwards I get a lot of my research in, then I start the articles. So this is just kind of a first look. But yeah, I like Donaldson, Freeman, and Acuna. I like the heart of that order tonight. Not Freeman as much, but I like Donaldson, Acuna, and Swanson would be a pretty interesting stack. But let's go to the other side. Kevin Gausman. I think he might be pretty popular tonight, which makes me kind of like the Mets, because the Mets have a lot of left-handed power, and that rookie, that Pete Alonso, is just crazy. But he's a right-hander. But I like the top four in a stack, or you could just do Nimmo, Cano, Conforto, three-man stack. Because this guy, or Kevin Gausman, gives up a lot of hard contact at 35%. Fly ball rate's at 33%. Pretty good ground ball percentage at 47.1. But against lefties, he only strikes out 18% and gives up 32% hard contact. But he actually gives up more hard contact to righties. So I don't like him in this matchup at all. And I think the top four or top five, I like any of them, to be honest. I like all the guys in play for the Mets. I think they're a really sneaky stack, especially on this slate where I think a couple teams are going to be pretty chalky. The Mets are a pretty good stack. Gausman, just because of his popularity and his downside here, I probably won't be pitching him. Might be a good cash game option, but I think he's too risky. I won't be playing him in cash, but not a tournament option that high owned with that much of a risk for me. And then that's pretty much it for this one. Move on to the next one. Pittsburgh at Wrigley against my Cubbies. Wind blowing out to left at 12 miles per hour. It's going to be 61 degrees, 11% chance of rain. Pittsburgh's projected 4.6 runs. Chicago's 4.9. So, projected to be a pretty close one. Let's see here. We have Jose Quintana for the Cubs, taking the mound against Joe Musgrove. Coming off a pretty good start, I believe, for the Pirates. Let's look at these lineups here. Alright, Quintana, 21% strikeout rate. Pretty low compared to other years. 34% fly ball rate. 32% hard contact rate. His numbers are just kind of bland. I mean, nothing special and nothing great. He walks a lot of guys, but we've seen his upside. Versus lefties, he's amazing. He keeps the ball. Yep, he keeps the ball on the ground 56.6% of the time, and he strikes out 23.6% of lefties. He's going up a lot of righties in the lineup Pittsburgh's projected to throw out today. So a riskier spot here. K percentage isn't bad against right-handers. Walks a lot of righties. Hard contact percentage is 33.7%. I liked Quintana today, just kind of looking at him without doing any real research. So that's not, I mean, these numbers aren't going to completely fade me away from him. Another thing I should have mentioned in the beginning, I don't see numbers as everything. I like to watch a lot of the games. I think the eye test is a big part that a lot of people miss. Washington Nationals last night, pretty good example. Nobody was on them. I was all over them. Pivetta was pitching for the Phillies, so everybody hopped off him. I was on the Phillies too. They were trash. But Nationals were a good tournament stack I was interested in. Just because the way they swing the bat, the contact they've been making all season. Nick Pivetta is more of a fastball pitcher. They scored a ton of runs last night. Quintana, I think I'll pitch him here in a couple tournaments, just because I think there's going to be two really high-owned pitchers. But I think it's a good hedge spot as well. Not a ton of power on this, or in this Pittsburgh lineup, but also not a lot of lefties, so it concerns me. But I think I'm going to take a chance on Quintana tonight. Joe Musgrove taking the mound against the Cubbies. It strikes out 20% of batters, only walks 4%. Solid ground ball rate, 46.6%. Cubs are pretty decent at avoiding ground balls, besides a few besides like Wilson Contreras is just bad. Hits the ball on the ground a lot. Let's check the righty-lefty matchup. He's a lot better against righties than he is lefties. A 23% strikeout rate to righties as opposed to lefties, where he has a 17% strikeout rate. And the hard contact rate to right-handers is actually a lot more. So I think you could play all these Cubs tonight. Interesting slate. The wind is blowing out to left. It's going to be a warmer game. Yeah, definitely a righties boost, and that's some opposite field homers for lefties. I think the Cubs can be sneaky tonight. Again, I didn't like them when I first looked at this slate. I think Joe Musgrove is a pretty good pitcher. I don't think I'm going to take him tonight. Let's see what he's like against the Cubs. See if I remember right. Okay, so he's pitched pretty well against the Cubs. Last start was in August. Yeah. I guess I can call this another good hedge spot. But I think I like the Cubs. I don't think Musgrove does as well today. In that wind in Wrigley Field, I think a lot of homers just fall in that basket tonight. I like Rizzo, Schwarber, Baez, and I like the power hitters for the Cubs pretty much. I like either the power hitters or make a lefty stack. Play Rizzo, Schwarber, DeSaslo, and Hayward. Or if you wanted to, if you didn't want to take Rizzo, but Rizzo does not strike out at all, and Musgrove only strikes out lefties at a 17% clip. So I think Anthony Rizzo, if you don't even stack the Cubs, I think Rizzo is an amazing one-off tonight. Might be one of my favorite plays. It's just unfortunate because Rizzo, when he plays in Pittsburgh, is unreal. I don't know what it is, but he always hits a homer. It's always something. So keep that in mind when Chicago plays in Pittsburgh. Play Rizzo. I don't care who's pitching. It's unreal. That's pretty much it from this game. I like Javi a little more now, but that strikeout rate is up there. Really like Jason Hayward. He's not going to strike out tonight. The wind's blowing out to the left. He has some of that opposite field power. Kind of like Hayward tonight, even though I don't usually roster him. That's pretty much it for this game. Next one, we've got the Padres in Arizona. Let's check some weather here. Wind is blowing straight across through first base, it looks like. Not really out to right field. Towards first base at 13 miles per hour, 79 degrees. Padres, 4.3 projected runs. Diamondbacks, 4.4 projected runs. No chance of rain. Let's see. Have the Padres picked a pitcher yet? Doesn't look like the Padres have named a starter yet. So I guess we'll wait on that. I don't know if they have it listed on FanDuel. Let me check real quick. Nobody listed yet, so that's fun. Makes me like Arizona's bats a little more. Just because this might be more of a bullpen game. So not really much we can go off of. Arizona bats, some guys who are doing well. Escobar's been hitting the ball well. 359 WOBA, 255 ISO, 45.4% fly ball rate. And if Murphy plays, he can hit the ball. Other than that, you have to see who they throw out there. Not much I can tell you about the Diamondbacks, so I'll stay away from them here for right now. When we get the news, I might have it in my article because I might like a lot of those guys if I find out it's going to be a bullpen game or if it's a guy making his first start. Diamondbacks could make a pretty interesting tournament stack. But Zach Godley is taking the mound for the D-backs. 23% strikeout rate, walks 10% of batters, not very good. Keeps the ball on the ground at 50%. Fly ball percentage is 27.7%, but his hard contact is 37%. Makes me like a couple San Diego players, but San Diego, as we know, has a ton of righties in this lineup, which makes me like Godley. Godley's not a guy I usually pitch. Just kind of sucks most of the time. Or he's just a disappointment, or he just does very average. Versus right-handed batters, 25.4% strikeout rate. 31.5% fly ball rate. Does give up a hard contact on both sides of the plate. But I like him here. Right-handed heavy lineup, but they do have a lot of power. But I like Godley more than I like the Padres. I think the Padres are an interesting stack. I think they're a really low-owned stack. I think they could be a really good tournament stack. But I'm trying to look for something that tells me, maybe I'll find something later, but I don't see anything that really tells me they're going to have a great game besides power. So unless some right-handed bats connect, this is kind of a home run or strikeout type game. Or type matchup for the Padres, I should say. The wind's just blowing straight across, so for right-handers, it's going to be a little tougher. So I like Godley here. I'll probably play him, but there's definitely some pitchers I like more. I like Godley more than Quintana, but there's definitely some other pitchers I'm going to go for before I go to that. And one of them is not Jeff Samardzija, pitching for the San Francisco Giants against the Colorado Rockies. This game, Rockies are projected 3.7 runs. The Giants are projected 3.6, but the wind is blowing out to right at 21 miles per hour, 58 degrees in San Francisco. No chance of rain. I can't believe the projected... I mean, it is a pitcher's park, but I can't believe the projected runs are that low. That 28 miles per hour blowing out to right field with Charlie Blackmon out there and Brandon Belt and Joe Panik, who can all hit the ball out, especially because they're lefties. I think Nolan Arenado, all that power, he can definitely... I mean, 21 miles per hour, that's a lot. But that's strange because I think we have, for the Rockies, John Gray is pitching. I think he's going to be very high owned. So I kind of like some lefties on the Giants side in tournaments. I think Brandon Belt would be an awesome one-off. But I also think playing Belt, Crawford, Parra, and Panik would be a pretty interesting tournament stack. Could see some home runs there. But anyways, I'll go back to it. Start from the top. Jeff Samardzija, 14% strikeout rate, walks 12% of batters, 45.6% fly ball rate, 31.5% hard contact. Not terrible. Wow. It's very bad against lefties and not great against righties. I expect Colorado to be very high owned. Charlie Blackmon to be very high owned because he could go for 2 homers tonight. Could be another case where you need Charlie Blackmon tonight, like last night when you needed Chapman and Chris Davis because they both put up a 47, I think. I think Charlie Blackmon can have a pretty good game here. And Trevor Story. I think everybody's going to be all over these Rockies. But I like a game stack here too. If you wanted to be different that way, you get the Rockies bats that you may need, even though they're going to be high owned. Then you get the Giants bats who nobody's going to have. I like Brandon Belt a lot. John Gray strikes out 24% of batters, walks 7%, keeps the ball on the ground at a 48.6% rate. Fly ball rate is 29.7%. It's a pretty good pitcher. He's just a lot worse against lefties, even though he strikes out more of them. He has a 39% hard contact rate. So, yeah, I mean, that with the wind, I like Brandon Belt, Duggar, all the lefties. Every lefty on the Giants, I could even throw a lefty stack. Giants could be really sneaky tonight against a pitcher everybody's going to have. Get these guys at around 2 or 3%. Nah, not that many games, maybe about 5 or 6%, but I like that a lot. Anyways, that is it for the game. Yep, that's it for the games. There's that breakdown. Any more stuff I want to let you know about? Not really yet. Just pay attention for the NBA playoff articles if you're not signed up for the NBA yet. $30 the rest of the season. I know it doesn't seem like there's a lot of season left, considering we're just now hitting the playoffs Saturday. But a lot of single games, and that's a lot of money to be made. Single games are where we make a lot of it. That and this baseball stuff. We'll also be throwing out same articles for basketball as well if you want to play the full roster. And I'll tell you how to play the full rosters a little bit and how to use the salary, a little similar to single games, especially when it comes to the playoffs, not as many games. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comment section on my articles. I need to stop saying so much. And that is it. Good luck and win some money. Send me your screenshots.